16 and 17. Some key points in understanding as you listen throughout this world. Seek the Lord, establish justice. Amos 5, 4 and 5, 14 and 15. Injustice leads to ruin. Injustice leads to ruin. Amos 5, 6, 7, 10, 13. Lord of creation and judgment. Genesis 1, 4 and 9. Amos 5, 8 and 9. God loves all peoples. God loves all peoples. Oh, America, 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 we cry and we moan for you. We cry and moan for humanity. America, listen, listen, listen. God loves all people. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? He made every one of them, every single one of them. God loves all people. Hosea 2, 14 and 23. We're going to turn and read that. We really need to read that. God loves all people. The focus this day, justice for the poor and distress. Justice for the poor and distress. Amos, the 5th chapter, that'll be verses 18 to 24. 18 to 24, 6 great verses. Justice for the poor and distress. That's Amos the 15th chapter. Amos the 5th chapter and verses 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Hosea 2, 14 through 23. The vital purpose and statistics of purpose of Hosea to illustrate God's love for his sinful people. Let me say that again. To illustrate God's love for his sinful people. God loves all peoples. Hosea 2, 14 through 23. Hosea 2, 14 through 23. As we turn to it. Hosea 2, verses 14 through 23. Here we go. God loves all peoples. Verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. And I will give her vineyards from hence and the valley of Ashur for a door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. Talking about God's people, Israel. And it shall be as the day, said the Lord, that thou shalt call me and shall call me no more Bala. It goes on. For I will take away the names of Balaam out of her mouth, and shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beasts of the fields, and with the fowls of the heavens, and with the creeping things of the ground. I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. And I will betroth thee upon me forever, yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness and judgment, in the loving kindness and in mercies. I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know the Lord. And it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, said the Lord, and I will hear heaven, and they shall hear the earth. And the earth shall hear the corn and the wine and the oil, and they shall hear Jezreel. And 23, and I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her, have not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, thou art my people, and they will say, thou art my God. Powerful words here. God's talking to his people. God's talking to his people. The whole thing about this is punishment and restoration. That right there was about restoration. God loves all people. God loves all people. God loves all people. The good, the bad, and the ugly. God loves every single one of them. God loves all of them. God would court Israel in the wilderness of captivity, far away from Canaan, tempting idols. In his great mercy, God spoke tenderly to his people whom had forsaken him to worship Baal, warning to restore his relationship with them. Return to God, return to God, return to God before it is too late. Return to God before it is too late. Return to God before it is too late. I turn these pages down again as they were before, as we continue here on Howcee Productions Gospel, Blog Talk Radio. We thank you for being here with us in this time and this hour. Why this is so important? Often people ignore or disregard the plight of the disfranchised. Here we say it again. Often people ignore or disregard the plight of the disenfranchised. How will the cause of these disadvantages be addressed? The prophet Amos affirms that the justice and righteousness of God always champions the poor and oppressed. I say again with emphasis, the prophet Amos affirms that the justice and righteousness of God always champion the poor and the oppressed. This is what we're talking about here. It provides you, the reader, and me, Freddie Howard, your host, an excellent opportunity to explore social justice issues with your thoughts and the people around you, and identify a specific one to address, either as a class or congregation. It's to be addressed either individually or as a group, but it's to be addressed. It's not to be overlooked, primarily because the prophet Amos affirms the justice and the righteousness of God always champion the poor and the oppressed. Challenge your students and those around you to consider those that come in your presence, those that you witness to, those that you talk to, whoever you see as you go in and out, to and fro around this world, in and out around your community, in your home and in your church. Because challenge them, assemble to worship, because worship involves being genuinely adoration of God, act of service to people. Service to people. Service to people. Israel assemble and perform the right rituals with their lips. Are we doing it with our lips today? Are we doing it with our lips, but not with our heart? Look at your heart. But their hearts were not focused on God. They focused on something else, what I can get out of it, to show. Everybody's looking at me, the big eye. Everybody else is small, and I am the big eye. It's all about me, and not about the people around you who need your help, who you are serving, who you should be serving. Encourage those around you to commit to show their adoration for God and worship by intentionally finding practical ways to practice justice and righteousness within their congregation and community. Oh, listen to that. Show their adoration for God and worship by intentionally finding practical ways to practice justice and righteousness within their congregation and community. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Powerful words here today. Powerful words today. Let's go through Amos 5, 18 and 24. It's just 6 verses. Verse 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end it is for you. The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. That says to us, I'll be glad when it's all over. I'll be glad when God does this. I'll be glad when God does. Guess what? Have you considered the wages of sin for you? The wages of sin is death. Guess what? You are a sinner as well. When the day of the Lord comes, there is judgment for you. There is judgment for you. You and you and you. There is judgment for you, Freddie Howard. There is judgment for you. Do you cringe for what God has in store for you when you're talking about bringing it into other things around you and other people around you? There's also will be an end for you. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear and met him, went into the house and leaned on his hand on the wall, and the serpent bit him. Oh, that is speaking directly to you. How many of you are going on about what's taking place with President Donald Trump and how you wish his end would come, how you wish somebody else's end would come? What about your end? Huh? What about yours? Huh? Have you thought about your situation? Have you thought about what you've done? Do you thought about the wages of what you have done? Have you thought about the words that you would say? God will judge you as well. Remember, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To that, what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. That's judgment day. All right. Verse 20, shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? Ooh, the day of the Lord is judgment. When God's going to pay off. When God's going to clear up. God's going to straighten up the books. God's going to clear up the backlog of all things that need to be dealt with. Oh. Let's look at 21. That was verses 18, 19, and 20. This is verses 21 and 22. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell of your solemn assemblies. All of the praying and singing, and you listen to all the radio music and gospel music that play, and all the shouts and the praise and things of that. All of that's going to be done with. I hate it. God says he hates it when that day comes, when the day of all that's over with. He's talking to Israel. He's talking about a person that's doing injustice. He's talking about a person that's oppressing the poor. He's talking about a person not adhering to his word. And he says this specifically, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell of your solemn assembly. What you have to offer, God doesn't want anymore. What you have to offer, God do not want anymore. You understand that? He's talking to the people of Israel, but it is still pertinent for us today in this United States of America. He's still talking to you. I despise your feast days. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Ooh. Let's get verse 22. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offering of your fat beasts. Oh, God don't want what you have to offer anymore. America, Freddie, you who I'm talking to, God don't want it anymore. He wants truth and justice and righteousness. He wants justice to roll. He wants righteousness to continue like a mighty stream. He wanted to continue like a mighty stream.